It is Sunday, June 21, 2026, and this is The High Road, Logistics and Leadership. I'm Jules Sterling, and I'm the one who keeps the contracts from catching fire.
I'm Elena Rossi.
I'm Dan Miller.
And I'm Buck Reynolds. We have a great show for you today.
Right. So yesterday we were talking about those autonomous shuttles at DHL in Singapore and that weird spike in trailer orders. But today we're shifting gears. We've got some really interesting developments in Mexico, a geopolitical crisis in the Strait of Hormuz, and a total meltdown at the FMCSA that's creating a capacity black hole. I want to start with Mexico because, the nearshoring trend isn't just a buzzword anymore. It's actually reshaping the map. Echo Global Logistics just went from being a cross-border bridge to a full-on domestic player inside Mexico.
Look, that's a smart play. They're not just handing off the freight at the border anymore. They're owning the whole thing from the factory to the port. That's a total chess move.
If I may, it's an operational necessity, but from a risk perspective, it's a nightmare. Expanding domestic footprints in Mexico means more exposure to cargo theft and fragmented regulatory zones.
My thing is, the road in Mexico isn't like the I-10. You can't just plug in a GPS and hope for the best. You need people who actually know the terrain, not just some software in a cloud.
Well, that's exactly why Echo is doing this, right? Troy Riley, their president over there, basically said they're eliminating the fragmented suppliers. Instead of 5 vendors, you just have one. It's sort of about that visibility,
Bottom line is, the lead times are dropping. We're talking about moving from 40 days from Asia to under 10 days from Mexico. That's a game changer for retail inventory.
Actually, you see, the speed is great until you have a claim. If Echo is the single point of contact, they're also the single point of liability.
Which is where the diplomacy comes in, Elena. But while Echo is moving inland, DP World is eyeing the coast. They're in exclusive talks for a container terminal at the port of Corpus Christi.
Corpus Christi? Oh, that's a lot of weight on one port. I mean, the infrastructure there is, it's getting there. But it's not exactly the port of Long Beach.
That's the point, Buck. It's about diversifying the gateways. If you can move containers through South Texas, you bypass the congestion of the big hubs. It's a strategic relief valve.
Exactly. It's all about creating that seamless flow.
Speaking of flow, or the complete lack thereof, we need to talk about the Strait of Hormuz. This is a high alert situation. Tehran just declared the strait closed to all commercial traffic.
Wait, closed? Like, completely?
Officially, yes. The IRGC Navy has established an exclusion zone. We're seeing satellite imagery of swarm craft and missile batteries on the islands. It's a textbook escalate to negotiate tactic.
Look, it's a power play. They've got a diplomatic summit in Muscat, Oman, and they want leverage. They're basically holding 40 tankers and container ships hostage to force sanctions relief.
That's just wow. I mean, the ripple effect on fuel prices is going to be brutal, right? We're already seeing volatility, and now this?
It's a systemic shock. Remember, about 20% of the world's oil and 25% of LNG flows through that 21-mile channel. If it stays shut, the detour around the Cape of Good Hope becomes the only option.
Which adds 10 days to the trip. I mean, that's 10 more days of fuel, 10 more days of crew costs, and 10 more days of the customer wondering where their stuff is.
It's a nightmare for planning. We're seeing this new normal where volatility isn't a glitch, it's the feature. The CSCMP report just put logistics costs at 7.8% of GDP, but the absolute spend is at a record high because of these disruptions.
Right. So we're leaner, but we're more brittle. That's a scary way to put it, but it feels accurate,
It is accurate. When you optimize for efficiency and remove all the slack from the system, Any geopolitical sneeze in the Middle East becomes a heart attack for the supply chain.
You know, while the world is fighting over straits, the silicon drivers are starting to take over the Texas Triangle. I saw that Volvo and AVI SPL started commercial runs between Dallas and Houston.
Now that's progress. Fully humanless commercial service. They're using the Aurora driver to move high-value electronics. No safety driver, just code and sensors.
Here's the deal. I don't trust it. A sensor can't smell a failing wheel bearing. It can't feel the road shift when there's black ice or a blowout. You're putting a multi-million-dollar load in the hands of a computer.
But Buck, look at the Singapore hub. DHL is using Zelo's Tech electric shuttles, and they're cutting operating costs by 50%. That's a huge win for the bottom line, right?
Oh, the bottom line is great. Until the AI misinterprets a plastic bag for a concrete barrier, and we're looking at another $50 million thermonuclear verdict.
Exactly. Elena gets it. I mean, Bot Auto just did a 230-mile run from Houston to Hutchins with zero intervention. That's fine for a demo, but in real traffic?
It's not a demo anymore, Buck. It's scaled operational deployment. We're moving past the pilot phase. The American Supply Chain Sovereignty Initiative is even federalizing the data to make this happen faster.
I mean, I can see the appeal. If we can reduce empty miles and cut costs, the retail clients are going to love it. It's just, well, it's a lot to process, you know?
It's the liability gap that worries me. Who is responsible when a humanless truck causes a pileup? The software dev? The fleet manager? The sensor manufacturer?
Exactly. It's a legal black hole.
Hey, before we move on to the real chaos of the week, a quick note from our sponsor. Strategic logistics requires world-class engineering. This show is powered by the stack developed by Eric Christensen at Neural Network Media. Support the architect behind the code. Visit our Patreon at patreon.com/neuralnetworkmedia for a free trial and access to our daily briefing PDF file.
All right, let's pivot to the macro stuff. We're seeing a great front load at the ports of LA and Long Beach. TEU volume is up 20% compared to last year.
Wait, isn't peak season usually August or September? Why are they pulling inventory in June?
Tariff deadlines, Jules. There are rumors of new Section 301 tariffs hitting in Q4, so retailers are panic buying now to beat the price hikes. It's a classic pre-buy move.
It's a desperate move. They're clogging the ports and putting immense pressure on the drayage networks. It's an artificial surge that creates a crash later.
I've seen it before. You get a rush of freight, the rates spike, and then you're left with a bunch of empty warehouses and no one to move the gear when the market corrects.
Speaking of the market, we have to talk about the infrastructure. There's a new $580 billion bill in Congress, the Strait 26. It's got $100 billion just for multimodal freight projects.
That sounds like a good thing, right? More money for roads and bridges?
It's more than that. It's a tech mandate. They're requiring V2X, vehicle to everything, communication on all new interstates. They're literally digitizing the asphalt to support those autonomous trucks Buck hates.
Great. So the government is paying to make my job obsolete. Just wonderful.
Actually, it's about safety. If the trucks can talk to the road, we might actually reduce those nuclear verdicts we've been seeing. Though I'm still skeptical about the implementation.
I mean, BNSF is also playing the long game with that Barstow International Gateway. 4,500 acres of integrated rail? That's a massive bet on intermodal efficiency.
Which brings us to the main event, the absolute disaster that is the FMCSA's MOTUS system. This is where the supercycle gets real.
Look, this is a total collapse. MOTUS launched in May, and since the 15th, insurance filings and authority changes have basically stopped processing.
Here's the deal. I've got guys in my fleet who renewed their policies weeks ago, but the federal database says they're uninsured. They can't get booked because the brokers are terrified.
It's an insurance black hole. Safe, legal carriers are being flagged as inactive, which creates an artificial capacity call. We're losing trucks daily, and 0 new authorities are entering the field because the system is broken.
So we have less capacity, but the demand is still there because of the front loading and the Mexico shift, right? That's why spot rates are hitting COVID-era ceilings?
Exactly. Spot rates for dry vans are hitting $3 to $4 a mile in some lanes. We're seeing a total flip where spot is consistently beating contract.
It's a gold mine for the guys who are still active in the system, but a nightmare for everyone else.
And don't forget the legal side. We're seeing a landmark shift in broker liability. The courts are moving toward a model where brokers are more accountable for the carriers they hire.
Wait, so if the broker hires a carrier that the MOTUS system says is uninsured, even if they actually are insured, the broker's on the hook for the disaster?
Precisely. It's creating a culture of extreme risk aversion. Brokers aren't taking chances on new carriers, which further tightens the capacity. It's a feedback loop of failure.
Bottom line, we're in a super cycle that's going to last through 2027. You've got the MOTUS mess, the 2027 EPA equipment pre-buy, and this new liability regime. It's a triple threat.
I mean, I've seen cycles, but this one feels different. It's not just demand. It's a systemic breakdown of the paperwork. We're being strangled by a glitchy website.
Welcome to the modern era. We've traded human error for systemic failure.
Now it's time for the week ahead, our Sunday segment, where we look at the strategic calendar for the coming days. First up, the Federal Reserve. They've gone hawkish 2.0. They're signaling that rate hikes are still on the table because of services inflation. This is a disaster for fleet capex.
Why does a rate hike matter if we're already in a capacity crunch?
Because the cost of financing those Class 8 tractors is becoming prohibitive. If you aren't locked into a fixed rate, you're playing a losing hand. The Fed just moved the goalposts on the 2027 replacement cycle.
My thing is, the small guys are going to get wiped out. They can't handle floating rate debt when the market is this volatile.
Exactly. Now, on Wednesday, we've got the EIA Petroleum Status Report. Diesel fell to about $5.06 last week, which is the first bit of breathing room we've had in months.
Don't get too comfortable. With the Strait of Hormuz closure, that relief rally is probably a mirage. One bad day in Geneva, and diesel is back to $6.
True, but keep an eye on it. And finally, the big one. FedEx reports fourth quarter earnings on Thursday. The stock is at an all-time peak, but the market is waiting to see if their freight segment can actually handle the current volatility.
I mean, if they can navigate the MOTUS mess better than the small guys, they're going to eat the market.
That's the play. The week ahead, that's a wrap.
That does it for us today. We've tracked everything from the insurance black hole at the FMCSA to the geopolitical gamble in the Strait of Hormuz. It's a wild time to be in freight.
Bye.
Later.
See ya.
Keep the wheels turning, everyone.